Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Code Commerce. My name's Clint, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to build this dashboard in React. We're going to be using Vite.js to be more specific, and we're going to be using a really awesome component library called Tremor, which is all these components that you see on the screen here. So really powerful tool you can build out. It's a component library tool for React or other libraries as well, and I'm going to show you what all we can build with that. And also, we're going to sprinkle in some Tailwind CSS as well. And stay tuned, because at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how we can host this live on the web with the sponsor of this video, Hostinger. That way you can showcase your project to your friends, your family. You can put it on a portfolio website to showcase to potential employers. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video so we can deploy this thing live to the web. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to shrink down my demo here. And yeah, by the way, this is completely mobile responsive. So as we shrink down, you're going to see these three here, these three cards, they're going to stack up just like that. And then once we get down past the median breakpoint, everything's going to become just one column, as you can see here. And we have a nice scroll to the top. We do have some other things in here. That's pretty cool right there. Just a nice click of the button. So this is all done with Tremor and also Tailwind. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm already in VS Code. I'm already in the folder that I want to be working in, just this React dashboard Tremor. Now we're going to be using Vite.js. So you can go to Vite.js, let's say Vite.js.dev, and go ahead and click on Get Started. And if we scroll down here, you can do vanilla JavaScript, TypeScript, Vue, React. We're going to be using React in this project. So all we have to do is type in npm create Vite at latest. So I'm just going to shrink this down. I'm going to press the Control Backtip button to open up my terminal, and I'm going to type npm create Vite at latest. Now I want to install it in my current directory, so I'm just going to put a period there. Now, if we open this up, it's prompting us, do we want vanilla JavaScript, Vue, React? We're going to be using React. TypeScript, TypeScript with SWC. We're going to use JavaScript with SWC. And SWC is just a compiler. It stands for Speedy Web Compiler. So here we have it, everything as installed. Now what we need to do is just run this npm install, and what that's going to do is just install all of our dependencies. And just like that, we can now start our development server. So I'm going to type npm run dev. Now I already have my demo running, so yours is probably going to be on localhost 5173. Mine's on 5174. So let's go ahead and open this up here. It's going to be localhost, we'll say 5174 for my demo. Yours is on 73. And this should be what you see here. So this is just the starter package for Vite.js. So let's go ahead and get into the build. So what you see here, if we come over here on the left, if we go into our source folder, this app.js, this is what you see on the screen to your right. This is all the code. So what we're going to do to just give you a layout of our build here, we're going to start off by building this sidebar. And then we'll go over and build this top bar, which is another component. And then we're going to break this up into two different columns. We're going to have a column on the left, which is are these components right here, and then the column on the right. And then when we shrink down to mobile, we're just going to stack these into one column. But to start off with, let's go ahead and start with our sidebar right there. I'm going to drop this over here. We can close that. Let's go back to our demo here. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop our server here, and let's go ahead and we want to install Tailwind CSS. So let's go over to Tailwind, go ahead and click on Get Started, and we're using the Frameworks Guide. Let's scroll down. We are using Vite. So what it wants to do first is create our Vite application, which we have already done that. So I'm just going to move on to the second step. I'm just going to copy this line of code right there. We'll paste that into our terminal here. All right, next we're going to copy this second line here. This is going to create a Tailwind config file for us over there on the left. All right, so if we open that up, this should be what you see here. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to copy this over. I'm going to copy this over right here inside of our content array. So if we go ahead and save, that should be configured for us there. And then the final step in configuring Tailwind with our Vite application is just to copy this over into our index.css. So we're going to have some styles in here, and I'm just going to say Command A to select everything, and I'm just going to paste right over it, and that's just going to remove all of our styling. So we can go ahead and close the index and close this tailwind.config file. And let's go ahead and just remove everything in here. We're just going to have an empty fragment there. So let's come back to our build. We should see when we start our server, npm run dev, we should see just a blank screen here. So there we have it. So let's go ahead and delete this use state. We don't need that. We'll delete that there. We can just delete that as well. So we'll keep this import our CSS file. So again, what we're going to do first is our sidebar. So what I'm going to do inside of my source folder here, I'm going to create a file, and I want to put this inside of a components folder. So I'm just going to say components/sidebar.jsx. What that's going to do, as you can see here, it's going to create a components folder for us, and then it created us a sidebar.jsx file. So RAFCE is just going to generate a functional component for our sidebar. And then if we go into our app.js, what we're going to see here, we just want to import our sidebar here. So I'm just going to say sidebar and make sure that imported. As you can see there, if we go ahead and save, you can see our sidebar right here in the middle of the screen. So if we go ahead and inspect this here, you can see why is it centered in the middle of the screen? Well, we deleted all of our CSS in there, but if we go back to our app.js or app.css, we still have some styling in there. So we can actually just delete this app.css. We're going to be using Tailwind, which basically we're just going to put everything in line, and then we can, if we need to add any extra styling, we're just going to put it in our index.css file. So we're getting an error right off the bat. We're probably trying to look for this in our app.js. So let's just go ahead and delete that, and that should remove any errors. So if we go ahead and refresh, no errors, no styling, you see our sidebar up here at the top. So let's go ahead and I'm going to give this a main tag here. We'll change this to main. And what I want to do, I want to say, we actually need to remove this here. We'll put this, there we have it. Now I'm going to give this a class name of flex. And that way we're going to have a sidebar here, and then we're going to have a div over here, and we're going to have other components over here, just like that. So we're going to rename this, but again, we're going to have our sidebar and then some other components there on the right. So let's go back into our sidebar here, and let's go ahead and start styling this thing out. We're also going to be using some hero icons, so we'll get to that here in just a moment. But let's go ahead and I'm going to give this some class names. So I'm going to say BG Slate 800. What that's going to do is just give us a nice background. I'm going to say flex none, width of 14. Anything above small, I'm going to say width of 20. And then height screen, which is 100 viewport heights. So if we go ahead and save that, you can see we have our sidebar here. And once we pass this small breakpoint, which I believe is 640 pixels, it should grow just a little bit. So I'm not sure where our breakpoint, there it is. There's our breakpoint. You can see it gets just a little bit bigger. All right, that's looking good so far. So next, we're going to create a div in here. We can go ahead and get rid of this sidebar here. We're going to create another div. And inside here, let's go ahead and install our hero icons. So I'm just going to search for hero icons in here. Hero icons. Let's go ahead and click on this one here. Documentation. We'll scroll down. Okay, this is what we need right here. Let's go ahead and just copy this. We'll stop our server. We'll install the hero icons React package. All right. Let's go back here. We'll start our server back up, npm run dev. Okay, so in here, what I want to have is our little home icon here at the top. So we're going to put that right in here. So what we're going to say for our hero icon, it's called home icon. You might not see it yet. That's okay. Let's go ahead and import this from material icons. So what I'm going to say is import, open up our curly brackets here. Need a space. I'll say home icon from at hero. Whoa, we need to put this in quotes at hero icon /react/solid. So let's go ahead and save. And we're already getting some errors from V1 installed. I have V2 installed. Okay, so let's just go ahead and I'm going to select this here, and we'll stop our server and say npm I at hero icon /react/v1. Let's start our server back up. See, this should hopefully fix the problem. Okay, so now we have our icon there. It looks kind of funky. Let's give it some class here. So I'm going to say, first off, I'm going to say width 40. Okay, that's a better size there. Now I'm going to say a class name here. I'm going to say text gray 300. I'm going to say left 3. Anything above the small breakpoint, which remember our 640 breakpoint, I'm going to say left 6. And I want this to be fixed. So it does look a little bit off center, and that's okay. I'm doing that on purpose because we're going to have a little spacing in here, and I just wanted it to look, even with the spacing on this right side. So there's different ways you can do it. If this background was a different color, I would probably center it a little bit differently, but for how I built this is how I'm going to do it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give this div, I'm going to say height of 20. Then I'm going to say items center and then flex. And if you're wondering what this number is, whenever we say height of 20 or left of 3, width -20, left -6. So if we hover over this is a really cool plugin. It's called CSS IntelliSense or Tailwind IntelliSense, something like that. And basically when we hover over it, it gives us a preview of what the CSS is. And Tailwind calculates or runs in multiples of 4. So if you were to say P-4 for padding, 4 would be 1 rem, and 8 would be 2 rem, so on and so forth. So as you can see, if we hover 20, H-20 is 5 rem. So I hope that makes sense. Now let's go on here. What else do we have? Let's go on and we have a width 14, height 20, items center. We have this displayed as flex. Now let's go ahead and after this here, I'm going to add another div, and this div is going to contain all of our icons in here. So all of our icons in there, I'm going to go ahead and drop this down. We're going to have a chart. What is this? Chart bar icon. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and give this a width of 40. So it's the same size as our other icon. Then I'm going to give it a class name. I'm going to say BG gray 600 P-2 for a little bit of padding, rounded large, margin bottom of 4, and then text gray 300. And we're going to need to import our icon. So chart bar icon. All right. So there you have it. That looks pretty good right there. And before we go any further, this div here, I'm going to give this a class name, and I'm going to say, basically just as we did above here, I'm going to say fixed left -3. Anything above the small breakpoint, we'll say left -6. Then top, we're going to say, and I'm going to say 100 pixels. And I opened up these brackets here. Whenever you open up brackets, you can actually enter in a custom value, and you can do that here for width, padding, margin, so on and so forth. And this can be pixels, rem, percentages, however you want to do it. So if we go ahead and save, now it's in line with our top one. So, and again, don't worry about this padding. We're going to fix that, or it's going to look a little bit better once we start adding our main elements. So that looks good for our chart bar icon. I'm going to go ahead and copy this down for our other icons. So we're going to have a document, mail, a credit card, and a bell icon. So let's go ahead, and this one is going to be document. Let's see, document search icon. So make sure that imports up here. If we go ahead and save, okay, there we have that one. And this one is going to be, let's go ahead and highlight that. This one's going to be a mail icon. This chart bar icon here, we're going to change this one to a credit card icon. Then this last one is going to be a bell icon. All right, so that looks, let's go ahead and save. That looks pretty good so far. Now I want to add these icons on the bottom as well. We're going to have this little scroll to the top, which is pretty cool. And then a little like kind of button simulating like a sign out function. So underneath this div, I'm going to create one more div in here, and we're going to have a arrow up icon just like that. We'll say width. Let's just, matter of fact, we'll just copy all of this just like that. We'll save, and then we'll have a, let's just copy this down. And this one's going to say external link icon. So let's go ahead and save those. And you can see them kind of tucked up in there. Let's go ahead and add some class names to this div here. I'm going to say fixed bottom 4, left 3, then anything above small, we'll say left -6. So it's kind of on par with everything else. So there's our sidebar, you guys. Looks pretty good. We'll make a couple more changes, like our scroll to top link whenever we get there. But that is our sidebar, and it is responsive. As we pass the breakpoint, you see it opens up a little bit further. So that's exactly what we want. Next, let's go ahead and build our navbar here, which is going to have our first Tremor component. So inside here, let's create a new file. I'm just going to say navbar.jsx. Our AFCs using our snippets, snippets shortcut to generate a functional component for us. So next, let's go ahead and for our navbar, you can call it header, sidebar, doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and we want to install, or let's just go ahead and code this out. So we're going to have an H1, and I'm just going to call this dashboard or something like that. And then we're going to have a div, and then we'll have like an input in here. This is set placeholder input, something like that. We're going to remove this. We're going to replace it with a Tremor component. Now, we can't see it, of course, because we need to go into our app.jsx. And in here where it says components, we're going to start putting our header. So I'm just going to say, what do we call it? Navbar. There we go. Make sure it imported. And there is our navbar up here at the top. So let's go ahead and I'm going to give this right here, class name, flex. I want to say flex column. Flex1, we'll say relative. All right. So let's go into, we can close that for now. We can close this main. Let's go into our navbar here. And what we need to do is we're going to replace this input there with an actual Tremor component. So let's go over to Tremor, tremor.so. And this is it, you guys. Awesome. So what we're going to do is just copy this here. Stop our server, npm install @tremor/react. And look at this, has so many components that we can use. You can customize them. It's really awesome. And this is a lot of this is used with Tailwind CSS. So built on top of React and Tailwind means it's going to integrate perfectly to this project that we're building. So let's start our server back up with npm run dev. So let's see what we need to do to get started. We're going to need to do a few things here. So the first thing is installing Tremor to our CLI, our framework. So this is wanting us to create our library, which we already did. So we need to install Tremor, which we just did. If we look up here, we did our command that we just ran, npm install @tremor/react. So we just completed that step. So next, we're going to need a few more things in here. So this is the Tremor module under our tailwind.config file. So let's just go ahead and replace this here. Or you know what? I'm going to scroll down. We're going to need all of this. We're going to need all of this in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this content. I'm going to paste over that. Paste over that there. Next, for the theme, I'm just going to take this theme and we'll grab everything in here. There we go. And I'll just paste it over that. Let's go ahead and save. Make sure there are no errors. I believe that's all we need to do. Let's run this thing. Awesome. So I think that is all we need to do. Oh yeah, we're going to be using, or we already have our React icons. Yeah. So our hero icons rather. So let's go ahead and start our servers back up and running. So let's go ahead and change our input. So if you look over to Tremor again, let's go ahead and look for, let's see here. We have inputs over here, select. We're looking for a text input. Let's go. I'm just going to click on any one of these here. Let's open this up some so we can have a little more space. Here we have it. All right, so select. This is what we want to do. So we're going to use one of these inputs here. If we scroll down, we're going to use one that has an icon inside of it. So, all right, I'm just going to shrink that back down. Doesn't really matter where it is. Feel free to browse around and look for those. So we can close our tailwind.config file. I'll zoom in just a little bit if it's easier for you guys to see. So what we want to do next is, instead of this input, we're going to use our Tremor component. I just wanted to put that in there so you guys can see what it looks like. So what we're going to have in here, it's called a text input. And if you've already installed the Tremor components, which we just did, it should auto import for you. So as you can see, import text input from @tremor/react. So you can see we still have our input now, and it looks like a little bit better. It's starting to have a little bit of styling into it already. Already responsive as well, looking nice. Smash the like button, you guys. If you feel like you're getting some value out of this, I'd appreciate that. So next, we want to add a few things to it. So we'll give it a placeholder. We'll just say search, just like that. So now we have our placeholder. Maybe give it one more period. And then what we're going to add is our icon. So if we say icon, we're going to be using search icon. All right, look at that. And Tremor automatically knows they work hand in hand with hero icon, so it automatically goes to the right spot. Everything is looking golden. So I'm going to go ahead and give this div, I'm going to give it an ID of top, because I want to be able to scroll to this. So real quick, if we go to the sidebar, if we go back to our sidebar here and we look down at our link down here, we don't have a link, but we're going to put one. So on this up arrow icon, I want to be able to scroll up. Whenever we're down here, say you're at the bottom of the page, I want to be able to click and just scroll right on up to the top. So that's what I'm going to add down here. So around this up arrow right here, we'll just create a little A tag there. And we can just say a little number sign, which is grabbing the ID of top, which we just named, just like that. And we'll just wrap our icon like so. So that's all we need to do there. Again, we can't really scroll, so it doesn't need to do anything. But as you can see, whenever you click this, it redirects us to the top ID. So, which is this nav bar. And I'll give you an example. Once we scroll down and have more components on the screen, that'll probably make a little bit more sense. And what I want to do real quick before I forget, I want that smooth scrolling feel. I don't want it to like just jerk back up to the top. So what we can do here is I'm going to use the asterisk there to apply to all. I'm just going to say scroll behavior, and we can just set that to smooth. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And before I forget, I actually want this background. Let's go ahead and change the background color as well. So we can just change that we'll change it on the body. So we're going to be using, let's see, 1E293B. So whoops, I need to say background color. So background color, just like that. And okay, let's go ahead and save, and that should change the background. So yeah, it looks pretty nice there. So it's starting to come together here, as you can see. Let's go ahead and refresh to take care of those errors. So let's go back into our header component, right? And inside of our header component, you can close that. Inside of our header component, or navbar, whatever you want to call it, let's go ahead and give this a little bit of class so it kind of looks a little bit better. Because right now, if we open this up, it's kind of flexing all the way across the screen, and we want it to be responsive. So what I'm going to say here, let's say class name. Oh, this is be position relative. I'm going to say width full, which it is. Then anything above small, I want it to flex, justify between, items center. I'm going to give it some padding. Then I'm going to say, I think that's all we need to do. Let's go ahead and save. So as you can see, it's stacked up pretty nice. Now, if we open this up, that's where we have our changes. It's flexed to either ends of the screen. And then once we shrink back down below our small breakpoint, which is 640 pixels, it spans the full width. So that looks pretty good. For our dashboard here, let's just give this a little bit. Let's say font bold, and we'll say text gray 300. And 300, you can go from 100, I believe it starts, up to 900, maybe 800 or 900. That's how you can change the color. So the higher the number, the darker it is. And you can also do a custom value. Again, like we said, if you want to do some custom values in here, you can say like something like that for black or however you want to do it. But again, we're going to say text gray 300. All right, so let's give this div just a class, we'll say padding of 2, but I only want this on the Y margin, which is the vertical margin. So let's go ahead and save. There we have it. So that looks pretty good. And I think that basically concludes our sidebar and our top bar. So it is fully responsive. Everything is looking beautiful. Next, what I want to do is create our main layout, which is one column here. Then again, once we pass our medium breakpoint, it divides into 2 columns. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So let's go ahead and inside of our app.js, so we have our nav bar there. Just below our nav bar, I'm going to create another div. And inside this div in here, I'm going to have a div with the left column. And then I'm just going to copy this down, and this one will be the right. So you can't see anything. There it is. So let's go ahead and give this a class name. And what I'm going to say is grid. And I want this to be anything above the medium breakpoint. I'll say grid columns 3. Else just be grid columns 1. Width full. So Tailwind CSS is what you would call a mobile first approach, meaning all of these styles that you declare are going to be based on mobile. And then if you want any breakpoints, you add in the media queries like so. So we have grid, medium, we're going to say grid columns 3, else we're going to have grid columns 1, and then width of full. Now I actually put that on the wrong one there. So let's go ahead and drop this down. We'll save. There we go. That looks a little bit better. All right. So if we open this up, we have our 3 columns. You can see one there, and then the one there, and this is another one. But we want our left column to take up 2/3, so 2 columns, and we want our right to only take up 1 column. So we divided it up here into 3 columns. So what we'll say here on this left column, let's give it a class name. I'm just going to say column span 2, just like that. And then this one over here, we can just say width full, and it'll just take up the remaining area. So now you can see, and this is gonna be responsive no matter how big or small you get. It's gonna just take up the same amount of space. So, and then once we shrink down, we want this to stack. As you can see right here, they just stack. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Now let's go ahead and let's go ahead and start off with our left column here. So we're going to start out with our left column. This is going to be a component in here, another component here, and then this one here, and then we'll start on our right column. So let's shrink this down a little bit so we can see what we're doing. So for our left column in here, what I'm going to do, you can do this different ways. So we're going to have a component new here. We'll say new file. I'm going to say a left. Oh, if I can type in here, I'm going to say left column. Again, you can name it, do whatever kind of naming conventions you want to use. Well, so we'll have our left column, and then while we're at it, let's go ahead and we'll say right column.jsx, RAFCE. And instead of just having this text in here, what we can do is just say, we'll just bring in our left and right columns. So we'll say left column, just like that. Make sure it imports. And then again, right here, we'll say right column. Oops. All right, so let's go ahead and save. So you can see not much difference there. And again, just to confirm, whenever we hit that breakpoint, they're splitting. So, okay, that's looking good so far. Now inside of our, let's do our left column. Let's do our left column first. What we're gonna have in here, we're gonna have a div in here, and I'm gonna give this a class name. I'll shrink that down a little bit. I'm gonna say width full. I want it to display flex. Then I'm going to say flex column. I want to say justify between, and then P-2 for just a little bit of padding in there. So you can see our left column now has just a little bit of padding. And now let's go ahead and First, what I want to tackle are these cards up here at the top. So they're going to be stacked, and whenever we hit our breakpoint, so they're still going to be stacked there. But we're now switching 2 columns. Then once we hit our medium, or I think it's a large breakpoint, maybe medium, they're now going to become a row. So let's go ahead and do that right here. Instead of this left column, we're going to give go to the next line, and we're going to have another div. And inside here, we're going to have our card items. And we'll say class name. We want this to be flex, and then flex column. Anything above large, we're going to say flex row. A gap of 2, which is just giving a little bit of padding, basically some room around those card items. And then we have our card items in here. Okay. So, and inside here, we'll just say these actually are going to be components, but if we go ahead and just list it out like that, you can see our card items, and whenever we pass our large breakpoint, they should flex. So there you go. So that's our card items. They're flexed out. Whenever we go below our breakpoint, they're going to be stacked, and then they remain stacked as we get on a smaller device. But we're not actually going to use p tags here. We're not using a paragraph element. We're actually going to be using a Tremor component. So this is another Tremor component we're going to use. So what I'm going to do here is create another component, and I'm going to call this card item.jsx RAFCE. Let's go and generate our functional component here. Now let's go back here to Tremor, and this is going to be, I believe it's called a card. So let's just scroll down and find a card. So all different kinds of cards that we can use. We're going to be using basically this one right here, but we're going to add a little bit of extra stuff in there. Okay. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to copy that, and you can just paste that over the div. So go ahead and paste, and when you save, it should put some parentheses around that, since we're rendering out multiple elements on the screen there. And then we want to import all of these Tremor things there. So if we go ahead and look, what we need to do inside our left column, instead of our p tag, let's go ahead and import our card item. Whoops, just like that. And we'll copy that a couple times, and we'll delete that. So just like that, you can already see some stuff happening on the screen. That looks pretty good. Not done yet with it yet. Let's go ahead and add a few things to it. So let's go to our card item here. And I want to add a few extra things into it. And I actually don't want this to be, I want this to be width extra small, not max width. So if we go ahead and delete that, that's going to open them back up a bit. We don't need this MX auto since we just changed the width. So I think that is looking pretty good so far. Again, there we have it. That looks nice. So I want to add this little badge in there, so you can pass in some like trending values. If it's going up, is it going down? Some percentages. So let's go ahead and do that next. And we're going to do that. Let's go ahead and add a little space here. So we're going to use a flex component, which is from Tremor. I'm just going to wrap that in a flex just like that. And the metric's going to be on bottom. And then inside here, I'm going to have what's called a badge delta, just like that. And then inside here, you can add a value. In this case, we'll say 12.5%, I think is the demo. And we need to import this stuff. So getting a little error here. Let's see what we're getting. Flex is not defined. So flex is a Tremor component. So if we go ahead and import that, just add it up here, that should take care of any of the errors we see. So if we go ahead and save, nice. It's not laid out exactly how we want it, and that's okay. So let's go into this flex here. And what I'm going to say is justify content. I want this to be between. Then I want to say align items to the center. And inside here, I'm going to put this. I actually want this to be above the sales. So let's see how that looks when we save it. I think that is looking pretty good. And we can actually change this up arrow. So on the badge delta, you can use what's called a property called delta type. And if you just were to say moderate increase, moderate decrease, it'll change the direction of the arrow. So notice it is now pointing up and outward. If we refresh, just make sure all those errors disappear. So Let's go ahead and open this up. And as you can see, it is completely mobile responsive, some nice padding in there, and they stack whenever we drop below that breakpoint. Okay. This is looking awesome, you guys. I love this build. I love Tailwind. I love Vite. I love Tremor. These components are really fun to work with. So, all right. So next what we want to do, below this, let's go ahead and see here. Below this, we have this chart that you see here. And this is what's called, let's see, what is this? I believe it is called a area chart. So let's go ahead and if we go to Tremor here, area chart, all sorts of charts we can use. So I think this is actually the exact one that I was using. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that one next. So let's go back to our left column and we're going to drop this in right below this div. Okay. So what we're going to say here, let's go ahead and I'm going to add a div in here and I'm just going to go ahead and give this a little bit of class. So we'll say class name, we'll say flex auto width full. Now let's go in here and we're just going to grab, I'm just going to grab this card that you see here, just like that. And I'm going to paste it inside here. So add a space, we'll paste, probably need to import some of the few things up here at the top. So make sure we have card, title, and area chart. So we'll import those and it's pulling in some, it just has some like hard coded data in here. So make sure we need to copy down this const chart data array. This is something you could be pulling from a backend or something like that. Excuse me. Then we're also going to need this data formatter function. So let's go ahead and copy that. And we're just going to paste that in here just above our function. Now we're getting an error in here. It looks like they're using some TypeScript and we did not opt to use TypeScript. So I'm just going to delete that number right there. Go ahead and save and let's see if that takes care of it. All right, looking pretty good, Yeah, it's looking good right there. That's how easy it is to use these Tremor components. And look, everything stacks just nicely, responsive, awesome. But we have this little funky, there's no space in here. That looks a little off. So let's add, this is our card. I'm gonna say class name. I'm gonna say margin top of 4. Yeah, and you can change it around if you want to say 2, 4, whatever you think looks good. I think that looks pretty decent for now. So, and you can if you want to extract this into a in an ideal world, you would want to extract this into say a you could say line chart or bar area chart component, something like that, and you could do that. You know what? Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to create a new file called area chart. We'll say component.jsx and rafce. Let's go ahead and do that. So we'll say on our left column, this card right here, I'm just going to cut that out. And this is going to be area chart component. And let's just paste that in there. We'll save, make sure you get the brackets around it. Let's go back and take all of our functions here. And you could be passing these through as properties if you want to do that as well. But hey, we're just going to do it like this. We'll go ahead and paste in here. And we need any of these. Let's go ahead and cut those. And we'll paste that in there. So let's go ahead and save. Make sure we get rid of the errors. Cool. So now it's a little bit more broken up. Potentially easier to read for other developers. Just makes a little bit more sense this way. And you can get you can narrow it down as far as you want, as far as destructuring and just kind of breaking it up to be more easier on the eyes developing. So what I want to do next is grab this list of Swiss federal counselors, whatever this is, looks to be like some sort of table. So let's go ahead and do something like that. So let's go over to Tremor again, and let's see if they have a table. There it is, table. Yep, this is the one I used right there. So let's go ahead and we'll do this. Let's say table component.jsx rafce to generate our functional component in here. And for this, what we're going to use, let's grab our data in here. So I'm just going to copy that. We'll paste our data in there. All right. And then we're going to need to import some stuff from Tremor. And it looks like we're using these hero icons as well. So we'll go ahead and grab that. Let's just paste that at the top. All right. And let's scroll down here and we'll grab all of our stuff that we need. So we'll grab that whole card. All right. And we'll just paste it in our table component. There we go. Let's go and save. Make sure it hits you with those parentheses there. And let's have a look. Oh, we need to left column. And inside of our left column, we'll just put this. We made this table component. All right, look at that. It just makes it a little bit cleaner in my opinion. And let's just give this card right here inside of our table component. We'll say, whoops, need to put that in the right spot. Not children. Class name. Let's give it a little bit of margin top of 4. So how does that look? And as you can see, we're basically taking this data and just mapping through it. That's the JavaScript they're using. So pretty easy stuff. They're just mapping through all the items up here. So if you want to add another item, for example, if you just were to add up here, I'm going to drop this down a little bit so we can see this Sutter there. Since it's mapping through, if you were to drop this down and make another one here, it would just automatically add it to the list here. So as you can see, just creates another row. So that's just a way to make things more adaptive and using React. So kind of mapping through everything, making everything responsive, intuitive. This is awesome. So, all right, that is looking good, you guys. I think that wraps up the left side too. Smash the like button if you feel like you're getting some value out of this. And yeah, let's go ahead and test out our scroll to top feature that we have here. Should be a nice smooth scroll. Looking good, you guys. This is gonna be awesome when we host it too with Hostinger. Much appreciated. This is going to be awesome as well when we host it with Hostinger. So much appreciation to those guys over at Hostinger. Thanks for helping us out. All right, so let's do our right column here. So we're going to have a few different components over there. And look at that. This is awesome, you guys. Look at that. Looking good. All right, so let's see what we're going to do on this right side here. So we're going to have, we're going to create, again, we can break this up however you want to do it. You can break it up. So let's go ahead and say, I'm going to call this a new file. We'll say sales item.jsx, something like that, RAFCE. Now inside of our app here, let's go find our left column. We have our right column. So we're going to put this inside of our right column. Let's go ahead and close that one there. Let's close our table component, area chart, kind of getting a little bit messy here. Our sidebar, nav bar. Okay. Kind of clean things up a bit. So inside of our right column, we're going to have our sales item. Okay. And now you can see we have our sales item component successfully being pulled in. Now on this right side, I'm just going to give it a little bit of padding, just kind of like we did on the left, on the right or the left column. So I'll say width full, and let's just say P-2 just for a little bit of padding. So let's go ahead and save. Okay. So for our sales item component here, I'm not sure. Let's try and find this thing. So is it a donut chart? Let's see if it's not a scatter chart. It's not an area chart. It's not a line chart. Bar list. It's not data bars. And these are all some pretty cool things you can use. So, and you see how easy it is to incorporate these into your build. So without wasting too much time, I'm not sure where it is. So I'll just go ahead. We're going to use this one here in a little bit, this bar list. I'll just go ahead and code it out and you guys can follow along. It's not super difficult, so don't worry about that. I'm just going to open this up a little bit so we can kind of see in the background. Quick drink. All right. So let's go ahead and import some things in here. I know that's kind of a lot. You guys, I'm going to put a link to this in GitHub. So if you want to copy some of this, feel free to do so. We're going to need the badge delta, the button, the card, the donut chart, flex, tab group, tab list, bold, divider, list item, metric, text, and title. And let's grab some hero icons as well. We're going to use arrow right icon, the chart pie icon, and the view list icon. So that's all we're going to need. And I'm going to grab just a little bit of data in here. So again, feel free to just copy this over from my GitHub. I'll put a link down below in the description. And then we are going to need one of those data formatters. So let's go into, where is that in our chart here? Yeah, we're going to grab this one. All right, we'll grab that one. And let's just put this in here. Whoops, there we have it. So data formatter. And I think that's going to be, I don't think we need to make any changes in here. Yeah, that's going to be perfect. Now we are going to need just a little bit of state. So we'll put our state right here. So what we can say here is const, and we're going to have the selected index and set selected index equal to use state. And we'll just set that by default to 0. And we're just going to toggle between 0 and 1. So use state's not defined. Let's just come up here and we can say import use state. That should take care of the error. And to give you an example, this is why we're using state. So we're going to be showing the chart. And if we click the list, so right now we're on by default, right? By default, we're on 0. When we click this, we're going to update the state to 1, and it's going to trigger a different component being rendered, right? Or some different elements being rendered on the screen. So that's all we're doing right there. But it's pretty cool. All right. So inside here, what we're going to have, let's start out with we're going to start out in here. Let's just delete that, open up our parentheses here. And what we're going to have is a card. And let's go ahead and give this card, I'm going to like to see what we're doing here. Oh, it looks good already. Nice. So let's give this a class name. I'm going to say max width full MX auto is fine. All right. And what we're going to do in here, what we're going to say in here, I'm going to say, might need to add a little bit of margin up there. We'll get to that in just a minute. So for this card, we're going to say we're adding our flex element. Okay. And let's go ahead and give this a class name. We'll say space X axis. We'll say 8, which is to rem, flex column. Anything above large, we'll say flex row. So let's go ahead and save that. Now inside here, we're going to have a title from Tremor, and we're just going to say, you can say whatever you like. We'll say overview. Let's go ahead and save. You can see there's our overview. Very, very nice. Now we're going to have our tab group just like that, and then we'll have a tab. Let's go ahead and say tab list, and then we'll have a tab with a chart, and copy this down, and this one is going to be the list. So let's give, for our tab group here, we'll say class name, and actually we don't need a class name on here. We're going to have the index, so we're going to say index selected index, just like that. Then on index change, we're going to say set selected index. Now on this tab list, what we're going to have, we can say variant solid. And if we go ahead and save, let's go ahead and add in some icons in there. So you get a little pie chart or the bar list, right? So inside here, we can actually just pass these in as icon properties. So we'll say icon equal to chart pie icon, which is just one of our hero icons. And this one's going to say view list icon. Let's go ahead and save. And look at that, looking clean already, you guys, looking nice. All right. So next, what we want to do is let's go ahead and below this, we're going to start out with this portfolio, or we're going to add in some of these bar charts. So the portfolio is going to stay the same. We're just going to, and this asset allocation, we're just going to allow the user to view this as a pie chart or a list. So pretty cool. And we're using the same data for that as well, by the way. So that's something neat to think about. So let's see, below our flex here, right? So just below our flex, we're going to add some text in there. So we'll say text, and we're just going to say portfolio value, something like that. And we'll say margin, we'll say class name, margin top of 8. Okay, that looks good there. Now below this text, we're going to use the metric. And you can add whatever you want. I'm just going to say 5465 like our demo. And then we're going to add what's called a divider. Should be like a little line in there. Nice, nice. Okay, now below our divider, we're going to have another text in here with a class name of margin top of 8. Okay, and we'll just say portfolio value, and then let's do another metric. I'll just copy this one. I'll copy this metric in here. Or, you know, if we're going to have portfolio value, yeah, this is good here. We'll say, let's see. Or you know what? Let's just say underneath here, we'll say asset allocation. We'll say asset allocation. There we go. And we can just delete that metric there. We're only going to use one metric. So let's go ahead and save. So we have our asset allocation. Okay. Asset allocation. And we're going to put this, if you want, we can put it in a bold. So if I go ahead and cut that, we'll say bold. That's going to make it some bold text there. Looks pretty nice. And let's just use this text again. So we'll say text 1 asset class. This is just what was by default being used in the Tremor components. So let's go ahead and save. And now we can actually render out this data that we're using up here. So I believe it's just stocks. And what we're going to do is just kind of map through all of those to display them on the screen. So just below this text, what we're going to say in here, we're going to say, we'll open up our curly brackets, and what we're going to say is selected index, if it is equal to 0, if that is true, we're going to show something else, we're going to render something else out on the screen. This is essentially what we're saying here. I'm just going to put empty string in there so it kind of gets rid of the errors. And on one hand, we want to show the donut chart, and on the other hand, we're going to show our list items, right? Our list row. So inside here, we'll say donut chart, just like that. And the data that we're going to pass through are stocks. Then we're going to have our value formatter function that we already wrote. That's just going to be data formatter. Let's go ahead and save. So that you can see our chart is actually pulling in the numbers from our data up here. So that's pretty cool. And if you hover over it, you can see this off running AG 10456. That's where we're getting it from. So awesome, awesome, powerful stuff here, you guys. Now, so we need to add a few more things in here. So we have our, let's see here. We have our, we can do a show animation property that we're just going to set to false for now. We have a category that will say value, and then we'll have an index. We can just set to name, and then let's give a little bit of class name. We'll say margin top 8. So let's go ahead and save. That is looking nice. That is looking nice. So, and you can see we could toggle back and forth, but we don't have anything on the list. We just have this chart. Else we're just showing this empty screen. So if you were to, or this empty string here. So if you were to say something like hello, I know I misspelled that, but you can see how it shows hello on the screen, right? So let's go ahead and add this little list item there is what we're going to render out. Okay. So what I'm going to have in here, and I'm going to change this. That's a little bit too much. I'm going to lower this down to 6. Okay. So instead of hello, all right, let's delete that. We're going to use a fragment because we're going to wrap multiple elements in here. And what I want to have is a flex. And I'm going to give this a class name of margin top 8. And then I'll say justify content between. And inside here, we're going to have a text. And what we can say here, we're going to have make this bold, stocks. And for this text, we'll say class name truncate. That looks pretty good. All right. Now below this text here, we're going to have one more text element. And this one is just going to say since transaction or something like that. All right. Now below this flex, what we're going to have is our actual list items that we're going to be rendering out on the screen. So first we want a list just like that. And we'll just give this a margin top of 4. And now we can actually render out our stocks just like we did up here. So instead of selected index, what we'll say here, let's say stocks.map, and we can just pass the value of stock, or what it can be whatever you like. And then we'll have, what we're going to render out is actually some components. We're going to use our parentheses in here. And what we'll say in here, we want to render out a list item just like that. And we need to give this a key. So, but first we'll say stock.name, and we're getting the stock from this right here. So if we go ahead and save, you can see we're now rendering out all of the names, right? All of the names, and we're going to end up rendering out the value, performance, and delta type, etc. Looks like it's throwing a fit because we don't have a key. So check the render method of sales item. Each child in a list should have a unique key prop. So easy fix. Down here, what we're going to say is just on the list item, we want to add a key property, and we'll just make the key stock.name. So each item is just going to have a key of the name. So if we go ahead and save, refresh, that takes care of any errors. Now below this, let's go ahead and add let's view our list while we do this. So that looks pretty cool, right? Yes. All right. So in here, so we have our stock.name on our list item. Let's go ahead and wrap. You know what? Let's cut this, and I'm going to wrap this inside of text just like that. I think that looks a little bit better and a little bit more formal. Next, we're going to have a flex in here, and inside this flex, we'll have another text. And inside here, we're going to open up some JavaScript. So, because right now it's going to be stock.value, but we want to format this into a string, right? So what we're going to say is intl.number format. We want to format this to the US, and we'll say dot format the stock.value. Then we'll just say toString. Use the toString method. Now we have this rendering out as text as a string. And let's give this here, this flex, we'll say class name, a space x2, and then we'll say justify content, we'll say end. So it kind of shoots it over at the end. Whoop, not ends. Okay, that looks good there. Now, what I want, we want this little, at the bottom here, we just want to have this little like view more button, right? So let's go ahead and do that right now. And we're going to put this just below rendering this out here. There we are, just above the card. We'll have another flex. And inside here, we can have a button that says view more. Let's make this lowercase. All right. And let's just give this, we'll say margin top of 6, padding top of 4, border T, so border top. Give that little line in there. That looks pretty cool. And for this button, we have some properties that we can pass in. We'll say size extra small. I'm going to say variant of light. All right. And we can say icon. If you want to add an icon to the button, we add in a hero icon. We'll just say arrow right icon. All right. And if you want to move this icon to the other side, very simply, we can just say icon position right. If you go ahead and save, it's looking nice. All right. What I wanted to do is, this is kind of bugging me a little bit. Let's see if we can say margin top 2. There you go. Kind of I was off a little bit. All right. So if we open this up, I'm sure that may have gone off the screen a little bit. Everything is completely responsive. Whoops. Let's drop this down. All right. Looking nice. Uh-oh. This is looking a little bit funny here. We need to fix that right there. It's kind of going off the screen a little bit. All right, let's check our column. You know what? That's why it wasn't, had an S in there. So you know what? Let's go ahead and remove this. That was probably what was causing the issues. Yeah. All right. You guys probably saw that and didn't even have that issue. All right, you guys. Yeah, smash the like button if you feel like this is cool. A quick drink. All right, looking good. This is awesome, you guys. This is how easy it is with Tremor and the Tremor and Tailwind material icons. Or sorry, not material. Yeah. I've been building a lot of material lately, so hero icons. So very awesome. Sorry if I was like chewing on a little bit of ice. So yeah, next, let's go ahead and for this final component, or a couple more components, we're gonna use this website analytics. I think that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and find, we're gonna be using something called, we're gonna call this web analytics. So let's just go ahead and open up our components here. We'll create a new component, call it web analytics dot, sorry, I was to say .com, geez. JSX, if I can type, oh my gosh. RAFC, sorry, I've been like working all day as well. So, okay. So next, let's go find our analytics component that we're going to be using from Tremor Components, right? So where was our analytics that we're using? I believe it was on a card, area chart. Got what it looks like here. It's probably a bar chart, right? Maybe not bar. Line, donut, bar list. I think that's it. Yeah, sweet. So let's go ahead and grab all these things that we need to import, and we'll just import them here at the top. Next, we'll grab this data here. So let's just snag all that data. Cool. So we'll grab that. We'll throw this in up here. So I'm going to give a little bit of space. So again, just pasting this at the top here. Awesome. And we'll go down here. Let's just grab our component and we'll paste it in here like so. And then make sure you go ahead and save. It's going to throw the parentheses around there. So let's just have a look at this and see how it rendered on the screen. Oh, I forgot. We need to write column. And then inside here, we're just going to say web analytics, right? There we go. Web analytics. All right. All right. Looking good. Let's add a little bit of margin here. And I think we're going to need to change that as well. So I'm going to say margin Y4. That looks good. Now let's open this up. Yeah, so we're going to say width full. So right now it says max width large. So let's just change this to say max width full. All right. And if we shrink this down, it should stack any second. Stack. Stack. There you go. All right. Yes, yes. Our chart there. Oh, nice. Nice. Looking good, you guys. So that's a good one there. That's a pretty easy one. Next, let's go ahead and add down here just another list to fill out the look and feel of our dashboard. So let's go ahead and look for that. And again, we're just going to throw that down on the right column. So we can call this something. Let's go ahead and say, I'm going to call this our score list.jsx. So RAFCE, just going to generate our functional component here. Now, let's see, we're using, I think it was a list. So it's not a bar list. Is this the only bar list? Is that it? Yeah. No. Let's see here. It's not a line chart. Let's find data bars, not data bars. Line chart, bar chart. So many things you can use out of here, you guys. So many things you can use. It's not the area chart. We can use whatever we want here, but let's see. Bar chart. Let's scroll down. It's not the line. It's not the donut. It's not the scatter chart, though it is kind of cool. The scatter chart. Accordion's kind of neat. Just drop down, makes everything easy. This would be somewhat of a pain to write in just CSS. Got the badges, the bar list. Where did I find this? Callouts. Those are neat. We already did the cards, the data bars. Is that tucked in here somewhere? Date range picker. Again, this is kind of cool. We're not using this, but all this built in natively. That is awesome. Icons, legends. That's neat. Select list. Is this it? Yeah, there we go. Okay. That's what I was using. Cool. All right. So let's use that list right here. Let's use that. Yeah, that second one. So let's go ahead and just copy this. Okay. Come back to our code and we're going to import. Whoops. We're going to import that there. Next, we're going to need to grab the data in there. So let's just grab all the data. Again, you could just be running like a use effect, capturing all the data however you want to do it. Let's grab our card and we'll go back over here and we just paste over this. There we go. Again, make sure you save, return the parentheses in there, and max width, extra small. We'll change this to full. Let's see how that looks. Of course, we need to right column. Let's bring in our score list component that we have here. Make sure it auto imported. Let's drop this down. Look at that. Look at that, you guys. Look how easy this was to create this custom dashboard in React, Tailwind, and Tremor Components. You guys, let's host this thing live on the web. Thank you to Hostinger. Let's go ahead and drop this down and let's go ahead and host this thing right now. We're going to go to hostinger.com/codecommerce. Make sure you go to /codecommerce so you can get the extra discount I secured for you guys. Go ahead and click claim deal. Okay, so let's have a look at their packages. They have the single, the premium, the business, the cloud startup. So if you look at $1.99, $2.99, $3.99, let's take a look at what you get. For the $1.99, the single here, you're getting one website. So let's go ahead and cross that one off right now. I'd recommend what they're promoting, the $3.99 a month business package. It's going to give you up to 100 websites. You get the increased speed above the basic and the premium. They're going to give you up to 5 times more performance. You're getting 200 gigabytes NVMe storage, daily backups, free email, unlimited free security site lock, unlimited bandwidth, a free domain. You're getting a free content delivery network. And if you're using WordPress, which we're not, you have a ton of built-in WordPress features, which is awesome. You have a no-code website builder, which, come on, guys, we're coders, so we're going to go ahead and skip that. But if you want to deploy something a little bit easier, then they do have that option for you. Security, they're going to give you an enhanced DDoS protection, web app, firewall, Cloudflare, protected name servers, the malware scanner, secure access manager, and a free domain whois privacy protection. Basically, this means if someone searches up your domain and the whois, it's not going to show your name. It's just going to show Hostinger information. Then, of course, a 30-day money-back guarantee, 99.9% uptime guarantee with global data sitters and 24/7 customer support. So I'm going to go with this business plan at $3.99 a month plus 2 months free. So we have a couple more options here. Of course, we're not going to do 1 month. The savings really start to come into play as you get more months. So they have a 12 months. This is going to be $4.99 a month, 2 years, which is 24 months for the $4.49. If you want the biggest discount, go ahead and do the 48 months. Plus, they're going to give you 2 months additionally free. So this is a pretty great option. And you guys, you don't have to have the same website. So, you know, in a few months, if you want to host something else or you have other sites you want to add to that, then you can do that as well. So I like to choose the best value, which is the 48 months for the 2 months free. Let's scroll down. Go ahead and enter in your information here. You do have a coupon code. Make sure you enter the code so you get that extra discount. I'm going to type in code commerce. Go ahead and hit apply, and you're going to get an additional 10% of savings. So go ahead and enter in all your information and click submit. All right, so you've signed up. We're in our H panel. Go ahead and click on home, or you can just type in hpanel.hostinger.com, and let's go ahead and claim our free domain. Okay, so now we get to choose a domain, and this is the address for your website. I'm going to type in, I don't know, I haven't tried this yet. Let's see, code, commerce, tech, something like that. Let's check the availability. Is it available? Your domain is already taken. I got to try another one. Let's try this. Code Commerce Pro. Check the availability. All right, there we go. Sweet. So let's go ahead and claim our free domain. You're almost there. Let's do this. All right, it's going to send you an email request. So go ahead and make sure you confirm that. Okay, so next, let's go ahead and click on hosting. Now, this is it right here, our business web hosting. I'm going to click set up. We'll start now. So do we want to create a new website? Well, we've already done that. So let's just create an empty website. We already have our free domain, Code Commerce Pro. Let's select. I'm in the US, so I'm going to go ahead and click on North America. If you go ahead and click on that, you can actually see that there are different hosting centers around the world. So go ahead and click on whatever location is close to you. Change. Let's finish setup. Initializing our project. Okay, so let's go to Manage Site. Next, I'm going to click on File Manager. Now, it probably already configured a little something for us. We go ahead and click that. So as you can see, Code Commerce Pro, this is our live website. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to pull this over. And what I'm going to do, let's go into our public.html. We can actually just delete that file. So go ahead and delete. And let's go back to our code. Let's go ahead and stop our server. And we actually need to run a build command. And what that's going to do is going to compile all of our code into a couple files. And we can upload those files to Hostinger. So we're going to run npm run build. So just run that command. And as you can see real quick, it's just going to bundle up your application into a few small files. So you should see this distributed or distribution folder here. And this is what we're going to upload to Hostinger. So I'm just going to right click on this and say reveal in Finder. Just open up our dist folder. I'm just going to select all of that. And I'm going to pull it over here to Hostinger and just drop it in here inside of the public HTML folder. There we go. So let's just open this back up. Now let's go check out our live page here. Let's go ahead and refresh. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Our dashboard live on the web. That is awesome. Code Commerce Pro has all of our components here. Look at that. Perfectly responsive. You can pull this up on your phone. You can show it to your friends, family, coworkers. Throw it on a portfolio website if you want to showcase it to potential employers. That is awesome. Smash the like button, you guys, if you feel like you got some value out of it. I would very much appreciate that. Thank you for sticking around to the end, and a huge shout out and thank you to Hostinger for sponsoring this video and giving us an awesome service to host our site. And real quick, if you want to jump back over to our H panel, you can also, like I said, you're going to get a free email. So you can go ahead and set up an email account, which is mine's going to be, you can call it whatever you want. It could be clint@codecommercepro.com. It could be info, it could be support if you're running some sort of business. So it's really up to you on how you want to showcase your email. I did mention a free SSL certificate. So let's go ahead and configure that. If you come over here on the left, we click on security. We're going to click on SSL. All right, so I just came back and checked, and it looks like the SSL, the security site lock certificate, should be enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And as you can see here, we now have this connection is secure. The SSL certificate is valid. So again, that wraps up the build. Thank you for watching, you guys. Smash the like button. Go check out hostinger.com/codecommerce to get a discount on their platform. Thank you, guys. I'll see you on the next one.